Hello football fans, and welcome to episode 2 of Well Done Michael, He's 13. On today's show, we'll have the second part of our amazing interview with Marvin Bartley.
Graham kept calling. I was like, Graham, leave me alone. I don't want to come to Hibs. I actually don't want to come. And then I remember I spoke to my brother after, and I was like, this guy from Hibs keeps calling me. And he's like, Hibs in Scotland? I was like, yeah. He's like, they're a huge club. Because my brothers know obviously a bit more about football than I do. And I was like, what? They're a huge club. Because I remember I looked in the Premier League and they weren't there. And I was like, where are this team? What? Is this some League 2 team? What's this doing?
I'm just trying to catch my breath because I think for the first time I've watched some live football this weekend for feels like 2 years rather than 2 months. So we're a little bit giddy after that, even if there wasn't any fans. So great to have football back. I'm sure a lot of you enjoyed it. What about you, Tom? You enjoying the football being back this weekend?
Oh, how good is it to watch some live football again? It's very strange without fans. I think it's very clear now that we need fans back. But for now, I can watch Bundesliga with no fans. That's for sure. And how good is Haaland? How good is he? He's just an absolute joke, isn't he? Ridiculous.
Oh, that finish. The coolness of it. It's ridiculous.
Made it look very easy.
It was so cool because there was no noise when it went into the goal because there's no fans. I actually wasn't sure if it'd gone in or not. It was that casual. It was like he just literally flicked a leg at it. Although, as the game went on, the Schalke keeper left a lot to be desired, didn't he?
Yeah, he was shocking. He's had a terrible lockdown. He's watched a lot of Netflix series, that Schalke keeper.
What was anything worse than his performance was the pundits on BT Sport with their comments around him because he was called Schubert. They were like, "Oh yeah, he's not very composed, is he? He's not hitting the right notes today." And that was even worse than his performance as a goalkeeper, I think. So many of you would have heard part 1 of our interview with Marvin Bartley, which was hopefully superb, we thought, and hopefully you guys thought the same. So delighted now, we're just going to now share with you the second part of our interview with Marvin Bartley. Enjoy. So, and then jumping forward again, Marvin, you were at Bournemouth. So who was manager at the time? Did you say Kevin Bond?
Yes, we had Kevin Bond at first.
And then Eddie Howe, was it after?
Yeah, we had Jimmy Quinn, who was... Yeah, Jimmy Quinn was... let's talk about him. And then Eddie Howe, yeah. Jimmy Quinn, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know how he got the job.
He played, didn't he, till he was about 50 or something?
He was at Reading. Yeah. He was playing manager at Reading, him and Mick Gooden. So I saw him as a star because I supported Reading. He's going to Elm Park, see Jimmy Quinn. Then I'm at Bournemouth and he comes in as manager and I'm like, yes, this is going to be really good. And he was horrific. He didn't care. He didn't want to be there. Do you know what he genuinely used to do? He used to bring his dog into training. He used to walk his dog when we were training. Honestly. Wow. And the best thing that he did, as a guy called Warren Cummins, again, with great character, but he used to be so annoying at times. Jimmy Quinn's dog attacked him. And that was the best thing that Jimmy Quinn ever did as a manager at Bournemouth, was his staffy attacking Warren. And that day there was absolutely brilliant. But in terms of his management, it wasn't for him. I don't think he's managed again since. I don't think he has.
No, I've not. I can't say I've heard of him manage anywhere. And then Eddie must have been young when he came in. There was he, Eddie Howe? Young man.
He looked about 15. I think he was probably
still does.
30.
Oh, he's 16.
Yeah, exactly. I know. He came in and managed. It was weird for him because obviously he was Kevin Bond's coach, and then Kevin Bond got sacked, and we had the new owners come in. Jimmy Quinn came in, and they demoted Eddie to the under-13 manager. So we used to sometimes go past him because he's bringing a kitten to get washed and whatever else, which is weird. And then suddenly, again, he's a first team manager and he didn't even want the job. He wasn't interested in doing it, but he took it. And, he's obviously kicked on massively now. But, he came in as manager. He's my third manager that I had there.
Could you tell early on that there was something a bit special about him, that he had the right kind of ingredients for it? Yeah,
people talk about what was special about him. It's his dedication to it. It wasn't a job. It was a lifestyle to him. Being a football manager, that was his life. Eddie Howe, you would never be at their training ground or the training centre and he wouldn't be there. He would always be there and he always made a point of being there. But he was so, we didn't have any money. He managed to get scouting and a guy to help him from time to time to go and watch, opposing teams. And he used to put the scout reports together himself, Eddie. So he'd be playing against. So he'd be like the video analysis guy. He put all that together and we never had anything like that. and he was so structured in what he wanted from us. He also gave you confidence to go and perform that. He made you feel,
Brilliant.
you're 10 feet tall. He made you feel that you're probably a better player than you actually were. But he worked so much on that teamwork, being a team, being in it together, working hard for each other. And he created a really, really good, hungry dressing room by signing a few boys from non-league that cost nothing. Kevin Bond was kind of getting boys who are falling down the leagues, the older professionals. But that's all right to have one or two of them if they've got the right mindset. But as soon as you've got those older boys who come to that level thinking, I can't be able to do this, I don't care about this, then you're in trouble. I remember we had Darren Anderton who had the mindset of, obviously, he didn't need to play with us. He's a multi-millionaire. He did not need to play with us. But he would give it everything he had, and his legs are gone. Don't get me wrong. He couldn't get around the pitch. But you give him the ball and literally say to him, you hit that ball 50 yards over there into that weedy bin, he would do it. Frightening. Absolutely frightening. And he still gave you everything. There were other boys who played in like the championship and stuff that were falling down, and they thought they were better than it. And that was the reason that it's really showed on the Kevin Bond. And Eddie Howe went straight away from that. And I always say when I talk about him, he's the kind of manager that, imagine if we're robots and he puts a chip into you. If you malfunction, then you're out the door. That's it. But if you buy into what he wants you to do, and you are willing to work hard and make sacrifices off the pitch, you need to be professional and stuff off of it, you get the rewards on the pitch, and he'll reward you. He'll back you to the hill. That's
amazing, isn't it? For clearly a man with a lot of talent and knowledge and all that great stuff, but ultimately a good guy and the dedication and the hard work to make it all come together. So I guess that was quite a fun part of your career, I'd imagine. Then,
it was brilliant. And don't get me wrong, me and Eddie used to argue. We used to fall out, but the arguments are of respect. I argue with every manager. I'll go in your office and we'll argue, but it's not me being disrespectful. It's just me thinking, what about doing it this way, kind of thing. And obviously, they know better than me. They're managers for a reason. But I'd always question them, and I always say, if I go to a manager and he doesn't have the answers for me, he's going to hate me. If you ask, what's Marvin like? He's always forever asking me questions or whatever. But I'll challenge you. If you say to me, Marvin, I want you to do this, this, and this, and I don't agree with it, I'm going to be like, well, what? Why? And if your answer is just because, then we're going to fall out. But if you can say to me, the reason I want you to do that is because your opposing players like to do this, or if you do that, it allows this player to get space and we can, attack their left back or their right back, whatever. That's fine. I understand. I didn't agree with it at first, but I understand the reason for doing it. So now I'll go and do that to the best of my ability. There's too many managers that will be like, just because. And no, those managers are lazy. They can't be bothered. And Eddie Howe was the opposite of that. He really did go deep into it, and he kept it basic for us in terms of formations and stuff at that point. We knew our limitations. We weren't trying to play like Manchester City. He brought in a big striker, a guy called Stephen Fletcher, who couldn't move, but was really good in the air, a really good target for us. We had young boys in and around him, kind of worked for us, and he was constantly thinking. He's constantly evolving as a manager, as a coach. He's constantly challenging himself. Wouldn't ever go to training, it'd be the same thing. Some managers I've had, I can tell you what we're doing from Monday to Friday, every week, regardless of who you're playing with. He would switch it up. If you're playing against a team that's a 4-4-2, you train a certain way. 3-5-2 a certain way. If you want you to get the ball wide, all the sessions throughout the week would be to score, you have to go wide. All the possession drills, get it out one side, get it out the other side. It would all be geared towards, that match on a Saturday. And people listening would be like, well, that's basic. That's what you do. No. A high percentage of managers don't do that. They got their way of training, and that's it. They don't want to evolve, because this worked for me 15 years ago. I'm not going to evolve and change it with you. I had these players and it worked with them, but maybe those players are better than us, or maybe those players have different attributes to us, or maybe we're better than them. So work with what you have, not with what's worked for you before. As a manager, you've got to change as well. You've got to evolve as well, just as your squads work.
So that's why you're top of the league with Sunderland.
Yeah, exactly. No one can question me. If anyone listens to this and any manager questions me, I'll take a picture of that and be like, well, what do you know, mate? It's clear. Yes, I've got the biggest budget, but that doesn't mean everything, does it?
You can say just because you're top of the league, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Just because. Well, why are you doing that, Marvin? Well, just because, mate. I'm top. Where are your team in the league?
So then, was it Eddie Howe that took you to Burnley when he went?
Yeah.
And then obviously he didn't stay there very long, did he?
No. Didn't work out for him. His mum passed away whilst he was up there.
That's right.
I think he found that extremely hard. But Eddie inherited a team at Burnley. Obviously, he went from Bournemouth and we were all heartbroken. I got the call to go to Burnley and I went to Burnley. But he inherited a team that professional footballers, but they weren't professional in their jobs. There was a drinking culture there. There was a lot of players who's this young man? Who is he?
Yeah.
Where at Bournemouth, we knew who he was. He was kind of a legend playing at Bournemouth, went to Portsmouth, helped the club out in hard times. We respected him. So we didn't see a young-looking man. We saw Eddie Howe like he's our leader or whatever else. Going to Burnley, and you've got all these other players and all these other bigger characters and people done stuff in the game. And, you're going from south of England to north of England, you've got to prove yourself. The same thing I talked about going to Hampton Richmond and earning my stripes. I managed to do that because I was one player in the team. These boys, that's wrong. Some of those boys didn't want to allow him to do that, and Eddie had a very, very difficult job in the sense that he needed to get a lot of the old brigade out. I keep telling the story of, I remember I was playing in the team. I waited my time, because I was adjusting to the league, adjusting to the step up in standard. I got into the team, flying for about 10 or 11 games. And I remember suddenly I was dropped. And in the couple of weeks leading up to me being dropped, there was another centre midfielder who was kicking up a fuss. Now, we were training, doing keep balls or whatever else, crossing and finishing. And this one player, and I kid you not, was running up to the ball and just smashing it out. So
really?
His team would have the ball, they'd pass to him. I promise you, he'd kick it out. And you think to yourself, what the hell? Like, if you saw it at Sunday League training, you'd be like, what's going on here? And this was at a team in the Championship. But he couldn't accept it that who was I to be playing ahead of him? He was a bigger name. He had played in the Premier League. He was on probably 5-6 times as much money as me, a real high earner. And I'll never forget, and Eddie sent him in once, sent him in twice. And he'd come out and do the same thing. And I remember Eddie spoke to the club and the boys' agent were like, right, let's just get him back in and play until the end of the season to basically calm him down. We've got a bad egg there. And I don't think Eddie wants to do that. And I think, till this day, I've never been told that. I think he was forced to put the boy back in by the club. He'll be fine. Marv's still a young boy, he's on lower money. He'll be here for the next 2 years after this. Just kind of deal with it this way. And that broke me because Eddie was always so honest with me. He would always come to me and say, you're not playing for this reason, not for that reason. I remember he named the team and he'd not told me. And he wouldn't even look at me when he named the team. And that kind of thought something was off. But dealing with those sorts of characters and that sort of stuff that, you don't see as a fan, these are things that were going on there. It was mad. You had a player, I remember we used to have away games. You had a player that used to, and this is no word of a lie, drink a whole bottle of red wine like the night before a game. Not because, just for the sake of it. Yeah. Just for the sake of it. Just say that I can do this. Like, I've got the bottle. And when I was first hearing these things, obviously I came up, as I said about the robots at Bournemouth, I was one of those. I came up here and saw a different style of like life and how people were so much different. And when I started hearing these stories, and I was thinking that can't be true. And then you see the boys pull out the bottles at the back, and you think, flipping hell, man! Like, watch out! You could have any manager in there. You're gonna fail. Players don't want to do it. They won't do it. And as I said, these boys have had their Premier League paydays. They didn't care anymore.
It's the kind of stories we often, as fans, we might think about, back in the 80s and stuff and that. But that wasn't that long ago that, sometimes some of these cultures really insightful for fans to, in some places under some cultures at times that's still happening, which is crazy.
It's scary. It's scary. It genuinely is, because as a fan, you're paying your money to watch your team play. And you're thinking, they're going to be right up for this.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, sometimes people don't perform and they play poorly and teams play poorly. We're all human. That's perfectly normal. But sometimes people aren't doing what they should be doing because they're not preparing themselves well. And that's what I talk about. I talk about young boys now. There's one thing being a professional footballer, but it's another thing being a footballer that's professional. And they're two very, very different things. One, you're professional in job description, and one, you're professional in the way you carry yourself and in the way you live your life. And, some people try and be one without the other. And if you've got that job description but you don't want to, live your life correctly and be professional about what you're doing, then you won't last very long, or you won't get to the level that you should get to. And I think that's such an important message that people need to realise. You need to live your life based like a monk. It's only for 15 years you're a player. Come on, you can all do that.
Yeah, I would live my life like several Buddhist monks if I could.
Or just be the best brother. Just to be the best brother
I'm not even the best brother. That's the worst.
Mate, he's not even second. That's the worst bit. He's third.
Our other brother's got no legs. Well.
Just to kind of, as we probably start to wrap up, mate, it's really interesting. So obviously you've had time in you'd gone to some sort of non-league, you'd gone to the professional league in England, and then obviously your next step was, I think obviously you had a bit of time at Leyton Orient, but then your next step was to Hibs. How did that come about? Did that come out the blue? Was it a bit like, how did you feel about coming up to Scotland at the time?
Yeah, it was out of the blue. You know, there was no, you know, like you said, you touched on the Leyton Orient thing, and that was a shit show. You know, that was the craziest. That was the craziest club in football. We had an Italian owner who bought the club after Barry Hearn, and this guy he was so rich, but he was crazy. You know, and I been through the season, and he was paying Andrea De Sena, the left back. He paid like Liverpool and Sunderland there. He was on like €17,000 at Leyton Orient in League One. Our budget, I'm not joking, was ridiculous, but no one cared. You know, talk about culture. No one cared. Like, it was ridiculous. Your appearance money was £100, and your wages were ginormous. So when they were trying to discipline you by saying, "Oh, you won't pay on a Saturday," boys are like, "I don't care. Like, that's £100. You're paying me like 5, 6, 7, 8 grand a week. You know, whatever." And De Sena was getting 17, so he was just like, "Oh, whatever." Do you know what I mean? Like, let's forget about that time.
Was he good? Was De Sena good? Was he good?
Great guy.
Good player. Like, did he stand out?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he couldn't be bothered. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this. I can't remember if it's his last goal or he's speaking about a goal. I think his last goal before coming to Leyton Orient in England may have been against Real Madrid, or his last game was playing against Real Madrid. And now he's coming to be at Leyton Orient playing against Dagenham and Redbridge. He's like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this? Like, he was a fantastic guy, but he just didn't care. He didn't want to be there. He was there for the money. You know, he just getting paid a fortune, absolute fortune. So he was a brilliant guy. I've got so much time for him. But yeah, no, I'd left there. And do you know what? At that age, at that time, I was just like, I can't bother with football anymore. I'd been at Burnley, and it, you know, was fantastic at the start. Manager change, you know, got homesick, went to Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient was an absolute car crash, you know, to put it nicely. Yeah. Some of the things that were going on. I came to the end of that season, I was like, how much do I want this? And that's the only time what's been professional. I've questioned my desire and do I really want to carry on doing it? And we touched on it earlier about having a banter with the lads and that sort of thing. That's what brought me back to football. Because if that wasn't there, I wouldn't be playing now. Because I had such a bad time, and I just thought, you're wasting your time. You're giving it everything at clubs like Leyton Orient, and others are giving it nothing. Especially in that second year, you're like, what's the point? What is the point? And obviously, we've been relegated. Now, our budget was much bigger than everyone else. So obviously, everyone's contracts were terminated because we were relegated. I thought to myself, like, I can't bother with this. And Graham Matthew called me just out of the blue. How he got my number, I don't know till this day. But he called me out of the blue. Would you be interested in coming up to Hibs? And I was like, no. Thank you, but no. I don't want to come to Scotland. I've been up to Burnley and I was homesick, and the weather was shit there. So I was like, nah, stay down south. Like, I'm not going up north. Then I had offers from like League One, like teams down there, and I was like, nah, nothing takes my fancy. I don't know what I was going to do. The time was just going and going and going. But then Graham kept calling. I was like, Graham, like, leave me alone. I don't want to come to Hibs. Like, I actually don't want to come. And then I remember I spoke to my brother after, and I was like, this guy from Hibs keeps calling me. And he's like, Hibs in Scotland? I was like, yeah. He's like, they're a huge club. Because my brothers know obviously a bit more about football than I do. And I was like, what? They were like, they're a huge club. Because I remember I looked in the Premier League and they weren't there. And I was like, where are this team? Like, what? Is this like some like League Two team? Like, what's this guy doing? Because I was such a lazy and so not in love with football. I wasn't even going on Google. That's how lazy I was being about it. I wouldn't even pick up my phone to Google them. I just looked in the Premier League and I was like, right, they're not there. And my brother was like, no, huge club, blah blah blah. Alan Stubbs, their manager. Saying, I think I messaged Graham and I said, I'll come and have a look around now. And if you had anything about him, he'd have been like, piss off you.
Yeah.
You for like, you know what I mean? I'm giving you all these calls. No, he's signing someone else now, dickhead. But no, he was brilliant about it. And I remember I flew up. My brother flew up, and the weather was amazing. So I was like, wow, I lived in Manchester, and the weather was okay at the best of times, And I was in Scotland. I was like, wow, this weather's unreal. Like, it was boiling. The hottest day that I've experienced, being in Scotland, I was like, fucking hell, this is all right. And then we got picked up and then went to the training ground, and obviously HTC's mind blowing.
Yeah,
all the teams I played with in England, that's the best training centre, hands down, like comfortably the best training centre. Amazing. Then I went to the stadium, and it's even more amazing. Like, how the pitch was immaculate. Stands are huge. Like wow. I almost like turned this down to just sit at home and twiddle my thumbs and play Football Manager. So I was like, this is crazy. So Hibs doing what they do. Once you sit in that, you're signing. It's almost like that kind of Bournemouth moment again, where all right, here's your contract, we want you to sign, and you sign, and you think, shit, how much am I on here? What's going on here? Yeah. The money wasn't important. It wasn't important because later on, I've been playing through the nose to lads anyway. Burnley had paid me really, really well. It wasn't important at this point. There wasn't a part of me that was like, try and get as much money as you can. It was just try and go and enjoy something. Try and get a challenge. And I'd missed that side of football because I didn't feel I'd been a part of that side. And coming up here and seeing those things, and then speaking to the gaffer at the time, which was Stubbs and Graham Maffey, and I spoke to Fonts, who was obviously from down in England, and he was, how did you find it? And I was sold on it from then, absolutely sold on it. And I signed my contract, and I've kind of never looked back. But as I said, coming up and just seeing the club, absolutely fantastic. And my sheer ignorance almost cost me a move that I would have regretted for the rest of my life. Definitely, because in terms of my football career, and Bournemouth, absolutely fantastic. It was a start for me. Great club, great manager. This is on par with that. And if you had said that to me after leaving Bournemouth, that anything, I knew leaving to Burnley, I was getting paid shitload more money, but I knew it wasn't going to be the same as Bournemouth. I didn't know it was going to be as different as it was, but I knew it wasn't going to be the same. But coming into Hibs, I just felt that it just felt like home. I can't even explain it to you because it sounds so weird. I've never been to Scotland in my life before this, and yet I'm going into a training ground and the stadium, and it feels like home to me. How the fuck does that work? The people listening, how does that work? I can't explain it to you, but I'm telling you that's how it is. And I still feel that now to this day. I feel the same way about the club, and with all the ups and downs I've had with not playing and whatever else. Honestly, I can't explain how much that actual football club means to me, and I'll forever watch out for their results. Whether I go back there after I've retired or whatever, in some sort of, I don't know, but I will always look out for their results, and I genuinely loved every minute of it at that football club.
Very special club, isn't it? It's the supporters. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't support Hibs as a kid, and just walking through the door myself in like a commercial role was like, wow, this is like big time. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It takes you back, doesn't it? It really does. But there's so many supporters, but then it still feels like a family club. Yeah, which you don't normally get when you've got that many supporters. It's so weird.
And then obviously on to Livingston. You've said you've got a good few years left. You get those calves hopefully hold on for a bit longer. But just when the curtain does come down on your playing career, what's next for Marvin Bartley? Is it sort of TV work? Is it coaching? Is it back into the double glazing game? What is it?
No, I'm done with that. I'm done with those two, the mechanics and the double glazing game. The game's moved on from me. I'm definitely done with that. Geez, there's some hard jobs there. No, it's definitely managing and coaching. That's my passion. To go and do that. And again, I thank Eddie Howe for so many things in my career, but this is another one. He kind of made me think about the future before. I know obviously the future is, you're kind of looking into it, but he kind of made me think about that from an early age. And he said to me, if you want to go into coaching or whatever else, you need to start taking notes and start learning your trade now. And I'm like, what are you on about? I'm 22, 23, piss off. Like, I'm going to be going to play for Barcelona, mate. I don't know. And then I got to 24 and realised I was pretty shit. So I was like, right, let me start marking down these coaching points. And he's helped me build a whole philosophy from then to now. It's been, 10 years of stuff that I've built up, and that's all down to him. And that's my hunger to go on and coach and manage and obviously do my badges. I hate reading, I hate learning, but during this lockdown, I've been, reading so many coaching manuals and the Pep Guardiola way and all these different things. And I enjoy it. As I said, I've never enjoyed learning, but learning about coaching, I've massively enjoyed how to put sessions on, the right sessions on. I've been I remember I spoke to someone at Bournemouth about 2 weeks ago, and they put a thought in my head that I'd never thought about. They were like, well, what's your philosophy? How do you want to play? And I listed it all down, and they were like, well, what managers have you watched that play that way? And I thought to myself, you know what? I actually haven't. You know, I've played in teams that played that way, but you're talking about the top ones. So now you go and you start dissecting the Atletico Madrid, you played a 4-4-2, your Villarreal, the Leicester of when they won the championship, so the Premier League. You start to look at how they do these things, and as a coach, you have to look so much beyond than what happens on a Saturday. It's how you get to the Saturday. And I always say this to boys and girls who want to coach, that as a player, you're always limited to how good you can be. Yes, you can do as much extras as you want to be, but you can't all go and be Messi and Ronaldo. As a coach, there's no glass ceiling. Why can't I go and manage in the Premier League in England? Why can't I win the Scottish Cup and the Scottish Premier League with Hibs? There's nothing to stop me.
You can.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing to stop you. Yes, and take a bit of luck. Yes, take a bit of hard work. But you can put everything in place, as best you possibly can. And it's all about thinking outside the box. You won't have the money of these other clubs, but you can put a team together that works. And no one would have thought Leicester could win the Premier League in England, but they did it. And I firmly believe that I can make a huge difference to a football club when I go into it from that point of view. And that's my aim. Who knows? In 10 years' time, I might look back and I'll fail, but I won't fail through the lack of preparation and the lack of trying. Just sometimes you need a bit of luck and I won't get it. But that doesn't even come into my mind at this moment in time. I will do it, and I firmly believe that I'll do it. And that's my plan for after I finish playing.
With what we've heard today, in terms of the resolve and determination to coming back from adversity and that throughout your career, I'm really excited about kind of seeing how your managerial career, when it comes, obviously a good few years left by playing it, when it comes, how that pans out.
He's not going to sign you, Scott. He's not going to sign you. Who is this guy? Who's this guy?
I'll find a role. You don't listen to Tom. He's a hater. I'll find a role for you, mate.
mate, I've never been fitter. Because of lockdown, so I'm thinking about a comeback.
We've actually got a few questions from a few fans of the page who've sent some questions, Marv, some good ones, some less good ones. This is from EH Retro Kits. Do you enjoy playing on AstroTurf at Livingston as much as you do as grass?
Now I do, yeah. I kind of used to look at AstroTurf and think, wow, I can't play on that. My body can't do it, blah, blah, blah. You get used to it very quick. I spoke to Nathan Ring at Hibs before signing my contract at Livingston. Obviously, it was AstroTurf. He said to me, after 2 weeks, you'll be fine. And touch wood, I've been fine on it. I recover quicker now from playing on Astro than I do on grass.
Cool, thanks, mate. The real Dave G says, what's your favourite cheese?
Oh, wow. What's the one you put in the oven? Camembert, is it? No? What's the cheese you put in the oven?
Was that like a little circular wooden thing?
Yeah, that's the one.
Baked Camembert. Oh, yeah.
Camembert, yeah. That's my favourite. Put a bit of garlic in there, you're away.
We ask all the big questions on this show.
Then maybe the biggest of all the questions from Hibernian Retro. So not sure where this guy's allegiances lie, but he said, who is the biggest club in Edinburgh?
He's the biggest club?
Yeah.
There's only one club in there. Oh, Edinburgh City as well.
Edinburgh City, yeah.
Yeah, Hibs. Sorry, Edinburgh City. You're a close second.
And finally, because you're part of a footballing brother trio, we're going to play a game called Marvin Smartly. That's right, Marvin Smartly. So I'm going to name you some first names of footballing brothers, and you're going to have to tell me their surname, okay?
Oh, wow. Go on then.
So Yaya and Colo.
Oh, Torre.
Smashed it. Gary and Phil.
Neville.
Ronald and Frank.
The Ball.
Oh, he's good.
This is harder. Michael and Brian.
Loudrup.
Nice. Bobby and Jack.
Charlton.
Trevor and Frank.
Trevor and Frank.
It's a trick question. No. It's Trevor and Frank Sinclair, but they're not brothers.
That's so terrible.
Just try different catch.
You just said Wayne and Gary. I was going to say Lineker. I was thinking, you're going to come with those two, definitely.
That's the end of Marvin Smartly.
Tom, you're a dick. I was thinking that last one. I was like, who the hell was that?
Classic.
I bet you've not missed Tom up when you were at Hibs together, have you?
I actually have, man. He used to bring joys to my day when he used to turn up. Some man, absolutely brilliant man.
Brilliant. You were good at that. Superb.
Oh, no, done all right.
Apart from the Trevor and Frank, go work on that. Yeah. The Sinclairs have been listening. I'll be fuming. Thanks so much, mate. It's been amazing.
No problem. Honestly, I've enjoyed it so much.
Brilliant. Absolute pleasure. Honestly, it's a real absolute pleasure to meet you. It's been superb. I look forward to getting it out there, and I'm sure everyone's going to love listening to that. It was, as a big football fan, just listening to the stories about it all, it's just brilliant, inspirational, mate. So thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to talk about it and giving me a platform and, getting me away from the TV and Football Manager for a couple of hours or whatever exactly. It's been. So, I owe a lot to you two. You've worked wonders for me.
Thanks so much, mate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, best of luck when the season comes back, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Stay safe.
Mate.
Cheers. See you later.
See you later.
Cheers,
See
mate.
you soon. See you later, mate.
Bye, mate. Bye-bye. Wow, Tom, I don't know about you, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, what a first guest to have on the show, mate. Absolutely love that.
So good we had to put it into two parts because I think we probably must have spoke for a record 2 hours. It was like, to me, it feels like we were just three guys in a pub talking about football. Two not very good at football, one very good at football.
That's harsh on Marvin.
Yeah, no, I think brilliant. Top guy. Loads of insight, honesty. Yeah, really loved that stuff on Bournemouth and Burnley and the time with Eddie Howe. And yeah, just I think for football fans, just hearing that inside track, and that is great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, and I really appreciate him taking part in Marvin Smartly as well as a real highlight. And I hope we have many more little features like that as well with our guests.
Absolutely brilliant first guest, and it doesn't stop there. We've got some amazing interviews and guests lined up. I can exclusively let you know that our next podcast, which will be going live next week, we will be interviewing Matt Holland, former professional football player, obviously played some time with Ipswich and Charlton, particularly in the Premier League, and also played nearly 50 times for Republic of Ireland, including playing in the World Cup. So really, really looking forward to that one. Obviously, he's done a lot of media work as well now. So great guy to be talking to, and I'm sure he'll have some great stories and insights to tell us. So please tune in for that one next week as well. Until then, listeners, stay alert and keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking? What's that supposed to? Scott, do that again, mate. Scott, you still there? Thank you for listening to another episode of Well Done, Michael. He's 13. As always, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating if you absolutely love it, and follow our social media channels. If you have any questions or stories that you want shared on air, then drop us a message, and we'll see you next time.